Sac Fat! Welcome to the Cinema Smoothie. My name is Benjamin Michel, and I'll be your host as we explore the art, the technique, and the gear needed to make your own DIY and indie film productions. Today we have a special guest, a dear friend of mine, Mr. Joonbug.
What's good? What's good,
brother? With you, bro?
Chilling, man.
Good to see you,
Good to see you, brother.
You know, always a pleasure to work with you, brother. And we've collabed on a few things, and really glad to have you here, man.
Likewise, man. Glad to be here.
So, we did things a little bit differently this episode. We made the smoothie first. We're gonna try this smoothie right now.
Yeah, man.
Let's see what it's about, Mr. Joonbug.
I've been staring at the smoothie for the longest time.
Cheers, brother.
Oh yeah. It's like when I used to come in the kitchen and watch you making some stuff,
Man.
and just like, hey, let me get a little bit of this.
Man.
This is good, man.
Thank you. I always wanna get into whoever's head I'm working with, you know what I mean? And, being that, like the art world is so expansive and there's so much to it, and, we always intersect.
Right.
How do you feel, basically like merging those mediums? Like you as an illustrator, and then, us as filmmakers, talking about Alex G and myself.
Right.
How did that feel, like kind of being placed in that, as the main person being documented, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're always kind of in your world doing your thing,
Right.
As an illustrator, and then here we come.
Right.
With cameras blazing.
Right.
Like,
and lights.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Lights, camera,
right.
action. Like,
Right.
How did that feel for you as an artist also?
Personally, because I've done like live art before, and I'm comfortable with having people watch and the cameras watch and all this other stuff. But it was also interesting because the storyboarding, I was helping with that, but at the same time I'm storyboarding for my own thing. So there's a moment I'm like, okay, am I doing too much? Because it's how much do I detail out? Because in my mind I'm like, okay, this can be explained in person, but then having Alex look at it and be like, okay, we should detail this out more because I'm not in your head. So it's like it's like, oh yeah, of course you're not in my head. So certain things that I'm thinking about, I really have to lay them out in the very black and white fashion of it. And I think the process is also fairly similar because I think it's like a creative looking on what could be. You're kind of making something out of nothing in a way. And I feel like that transcends into illustration, just the various nature of art in itself is just creating something out of nothing. And I am a firm like follower of just like light technique, or just looking at light in a way of seeing how that can create an atmosphere and create a feeling. And so having studied that a bit, and then seeing that how you guys are looking at light, and I even remember sometimes we're like, oh man, it's too dark right here, and you go one step over and it's like perfect. Or even being in that shed that we were in, and spending so much time setting up the shot, and making sure the lighting was perfect and seeing how the details could be fleshed out. I think a lot of those have the same thing in common when it comes to illustration. It's just kind of like borderlines intersects in that way.
You can see that for sure, and I definitely feel that as a cinematographer. Like when I go on a set, I'm really trying to create a mood. And
Right.
like, with your piece, I was really, I talked to Alex about it, and we really wanted to approach it like a film set.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was one of the things like we were really adamant about, and we got some pushback, because of that. Which I don't really want to get into on this show. It's not the time for that. But at the same time, that also like promotes growth. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was good feedback that we got as far as like, how far do you want to turn this into like a film or cinematic type of piece?
Right.
Because essentially it is a documentary, and it is like really about you and what you do and things like that.
And even in a sense, like, we didn't want it to feel like a regular documentary, because we were approaching it where it could necessarily like show a different side of how documentaries could be shot, or else, like, how can we add more elements or even take away elements, or show a different camera angle when we're so used to this in a documentary style. And,
exactly.
I feel like that was an interesting way for just like to show off something that you're telling a story, but I found it great to be working with you guys because y'all were challenging how we were shooting.
We wanted it to be different, and we also incorporated slow-mo, which was
right. Yeah, that was...
at the time, it was really, I wouldn't say taboo, but it really wasn't being utilized so much. Right. You know what I mean? Not slow-mo in general, but, for, KQED, when we were working with them, and, KQED Arts, and, I guess it was just something that they weren't so much incorporating at the time, and we put it in there, and Alex was coming from like a music video world, which used tons of slow mo. It's like common, super common in music videos.
Yeah,
and, for good reason, because it lets the audience kind of stay in that moment, and that's definitely a film technique that I like to incorporate.
Right.
Because it does allow the audience to see that scene in a different way. But we definitely got some pushback on that. But I think all in all, it helped push the project in a way that was different from all the other projects. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it had those cinematic elements. It had the slow-mo. It had kind of like that feel and atmosphere to it.
Right.
That was very different. You know what I mean? And I think now they're incorporating more.
Yeah, because eventually,
right.
they kind of got on the wagon about it.
Exactly.
And it's nice to see that insight, the little change, or even like not necessarily that it's bad or not they weren't using it, but they couldn't necessarily. They didn't see how it could be used in a way or marketable in a way.
Right, because they have a certain way that they like to produce.
Right, and that's fine, but it's nice to just, show like a different side. I'm like, oh yeah,
for sure.
Maybe, you didn't see it this way or this example. Because a lot of times it's because there's not adequate examples of what could be.
Right.
But when you present that, it's like, all right, cool, I didn't see that before.
Yeah, that's a big thing, I think, for a lot of filmmakers in general, a lot of independent artists, not even just filmmakers, is that when you are trying to make something that's genuinely creative, and you're dealing with a client or you're dealing with somebody that's basically hiring you to do a certain thing, it can be difficult, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, keep your resolve, push for what you think is creative. But you also have to be able to bend and be flexible a little bit.
Right.
Because, at the end of the day, they're hiring you because they appreciate your work or they appreciate you as an artist, hopefully. And, they like what you do, but they also have, a brand or a certain way they like doing things. Limitations can also garner more creativity.
Right.
Because then you really have to think about it. It's like, how can I still, satisfy my creative, cravings, but at the same time, have it
make it function.
complement, have it complement whoever I'm working with, or And that's one of the things that I think is important when you're collaborating with anybody, really. Like, whether it's another artist or it's a client, company, whatever. You know, you have to find kind of that middle ground that works, you know, for both.
Because it's like both of y'all are thinking. Because I think that's the point of collaboration too. Is like it's not two people with the same ideas making another idea, you know, or the same way of looking at something, making the same thing. Because that would be kind of boring. It has to have there's some sort of like conflict or differences in viewpoints, and then you find a happy medium. But then it becomes like one part this person, one part this person's eye, and then it creates something completely different and beautiful. But it's like you have to have the understanding of like I'm going into this knowing that this other person is not going to be fully on, you know, my side of things, and I'm not going to be fully on their side of things. But as long as we have an understanding, we're able to like, you know, put things in the same box and see how it can fit together for one final product. So yeah, it's just a matter of understanding that.
You know, I definitely want to hit this point. You know, our brother Alex Ghassan was, you know, he was one of the victims of the ghost ship along with his fiance Hannah. And we definitely want to, you know, give them a big shout out. Their families. You know, him, and we just want to send our love out to their family's direction, and we want to remember him also.
Yes.
One of the things, though, I wanted to talk about was, what was it like, and I'm going to answer this too, but what was it like working with Alex G?
Wait, I'm going to say it like Alex. It was wavy, bro. It was wavy, son. Like,
oh man,
dude is, man. It's like he just gets these, like, you'll see it on his face when something hits him, you know, and he'll just like go crazy. And it's very animated when he gets like a really good idea or something, and it's like he's a little kid. Like he just is very innocent, just very like. Very in the moment, very raw, just like, this is what I'm feeling. And the whole room lights up when he's feeling that, you know. And he's able to take direction and still be a director, you know. And it's almost like inspiring to be able to like see that. Because a lot of people, we struggle with like, oh man, I know this, so therefore, you know, you can't tell me what you can't
tell me, right.
But like he was very good at interchanging that, you know. And it was nice because it was humbling. And at the same time, you were able to be comfortable around explaining your ideas.
He was able to give. That's why I looked at that camera just a second ago.
Yeah,
because
man.
he was able to give direction as well as take it.
Yeah.
So, and you know, there's a fine line in that. It's, you know, especially you know, if you're a director and it's your project, of course, you know, you have the say in how you want to see that overall vision. But at the same time, you know, people around you might have some good ideas you need to, you know, check out, you know, at least vet it, you know, check it out and see if it works. If it doesn't work, you don't use it.
You don't have to do it.
You don't have to do it, you know, and there's a time for that, you know, but in any case, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
You know, it's give and take.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. Yeah.
And even just like his approach to like the set. You know, he's always like, he had this like, I don't know, it felt like this old man just like, this could be better, this could be better. You know, it was almost like shadowing, his hands behind his back kind of thing, like, yeah, all right, this could be better. Like, it was great, but we could, you know, do better. It's just like that room for improvement, like he just wanted the best out of every situation. And he just had this ability to just get anything. Because I remember like when we were looking for places to shoot, and he would just come up as like, yeah, I just got the spot. And we're like, how the hell did you get the spot? You know, he just had his way of just doing that, and then it's just like, all right, there's no limit, because whatever we need to get done, it has to get done. So we got to find a way to do it. Right. And that was basically the base of the whole shoot, is like, we had to like make things happen. We had to drive to these places. We had to set up, you know.
Talk about DIY.
Right. He got me to go on that tall grass when, you know, I lived in Texas. I'm snakes, bro. Nah. Boy, he got me to go in there, and it's just like,
Yeah.
You know, we had to get something done, and we got it done. And
That's right.
we just had that, and it was a good chemistry between all of us because, you know, we're all Caribbeans, Jamaica, and then 2 Haitians. So it's like we had all this stuff and just all these like inside jokes going, and it just made it a great experience, you know.
Sir. Yes,
so
sir.
yeah, I really enjoyed that, man.
Man, that was one of the best, you know, independent film situations I've ever had. And you know, honestly, like when I met Alex, I was like, wow, I met my match.
Yeah.
I finally met somebody who's on so many levels, you know, I feel like I could really, really collaborate with and really, really feel a connection with.
Right.
And you know, we kept on working with each other for several projects, you know? So it was a beautiful relationship. You know, I think it brought us all together.
Yeah.
And, you know, his spirit is definitely living on. I think he's just an inspiration. He's definitely an inspiration for me, and I know he's an inspiration for a lot of other artists, film or otherwise. You know, I think it's a lesson in, you know what, if you have a creative piece, you have something that you want to do, there's nothing stopping you from doing it but yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, brother Joonbug, man, thank you for coming through.
Thank you, bro.
Man, I appreciate you. Definitely.
This was fun, man.
Yeah, you know, you're always welcome. You're always welcome to the Cinema Smoothie. You know, we're going to be doing more interviews like this.
Right.
And, you know, definitely appreciate your artistry, you know, what you do, and, you know, the project that we worked on and projects that we've collaborated on is something really special to me, man. They're all very special. So, yeah.
I'm grateful, man. Seriously, man.
For sure. All right. So that wraps it up for today. You know, this was the Cinema Smoothie, and we're gonna continue to bring you all the good stuff that you need to know to make your own cinema productions. You know, more interviews like this, and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, follow me, and see you next time. What's up?
Valoriser yon maman kawè pour faire uns enfants vini yon grandeur. Non pas ça fini payer maman nous pour ça t'es déjà fait pour nous.